Hello and welcome back to Dr. Jordan B. Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. Today we have rule number 8, tell the truth or at least don't lie. After just reading the title, it reminds me sometimes, if you do want to get out of a certain situation and you don't want to lie, sometimes you have an excuse that is true, but in essence, it may not be either the whole truth or it may not apply to this situation. It could be, I had to go to the dentist today, and while that appointment may have been at 9 o'clock and this thing's at 2:30, technically you did have to go to the dentist today, and so you may not be able to make it, which is technically the truth, but I would still say in a way that you could be lying. That was just like a little side tangent. To get started with the book, page 207, when he mentions No Country for Old Men, when he's talking about that patient that is paranoid beyond belief, and he has to be very careful with how he talks to that patient. And the way that he describes the patient is similar to that famous gas station scene with Anton Chigurh and the antagonist in No Country for Old Men, as he questions the gas station attendant. The gas station attendant gets caught in a lie, and Anton has no business dealing with lies and sees right through it and is able to question him without remorse, while without picking up on the social cues. That the gas station attendant didn't want to delve deeper into his life, and he was weary of what Anton Chigurh was up to. But Anton just doesn't, he doesn't care about the emotion. He just is a straightforward, honest guy, I guess. And he doesn't like it when the gas station clerk lies. And then he does his coin flip thing. But I think that's a good comparison, not even knowing the patient, but if he's similar to Anton, which I think he is, I think that was a pretty good tie-in together. Also on this page, he mentions how he lived next door to like the former president of a biker gang in Montreal. And I know I've mentioned my Nana before, but when she and my grandpa, when they first got married and they moved into their new apartment, they lived next to a lot of the Hells Angels, and my Nana she was kind of naive, so she didn't really fully understand what they were doing. So she would, hang out with their moms and just help out with their kids. They weren't in the Hells Angels or anything, but I just thought it was funny that Peterson lived next to an ex-biker president, and it just reminded me of my Nana and Papa. And she would just help out the kids sometimes when the moms were busy doing other things. But it was just like a funny memory. Again, they were not part of the biker gang. I think they left soon after. But yeah, she used to live next to the Hells Angels. Okay. Page 209. Here at the top, before manipulate the world, he says, taking the easy way out or telling the truth, those are not merely two different choices. They are different pathways through life. They are utterly different ways of existing. And it just got me thinking about every single choice you make every day leads you down to a new pathway in life. If you just take you could just be going through the grocery store and you take that extra half a second to read the difference between this 2% brand of milk and that 2% brand of milk. And since you took that 5 seconds, you leave 5 seconds later from the grocery store. And that 5 seconds could be the difference between you have gotten in a car accident that day and not. And it's just so wild how these different pathways in life and how you take it out. And obviously that can work the same way with telling the truth and telling a lie, because once you tell the lie, then you're living in that existence. If you tell the truth, then you're living in that existence. And those are truly two entirely different pathways in life. And, it's, is it the multiverse and all that, where someone's living every single opposite choice of what you do. You got to have all those branch ways. And it'd be crazy to think about that. But yeah, I think it's entirely true. Every decision you make, everything you do, me taking the time to sit here and record this video at this specific point in time and day could totally change my life. I mean, it may not. I have other things that I'm going to do today, and if I did that in a different order, I don't know if it would truly have affected everything later on in my life, but sure as might. And it's just, and since it can affect your life entirely differently, if now you're living in the existence where that lie is present, that's not necessarily a good existence you want to be in, because then you have to deal with that and manage that. So if you can live in the existence where you're telling the truth, then at least you can back up the truth and be honest and not have to think twice about what you're saying and all that. Page 211, Peterson's talking about the person who avoids conflict and smiles and doesn't complain when they're mistreated and just kind of goes along and abstains and stays silent and just agrees to whatever they are. There's nothing of value in her existence to counterbalance life's troubles. And I struggle with that sometimes. I generally kind of am just like a go with the flow type of guy. And while that keeps me out of trouble, it definitely still continues to have me question within myself if I'm doing the right thing by just going along with it. If I would just speak up, maybe my life and other people's lives could you just be slightly better. And it definitely doesn't feel good to question your choices like that, to just look back and have that little bit of resentment, like I should have done something different. And Peterson's right, you aren't living your true self, you're kind of just living a lie of yourself if you're just agreeing with something else, and if you put up with it, and if you continue down that path, then it'll just keep pushing and pushing against you, and more things will come that you do not want to happen. And part of telling the truth is revealing the truth about yourself. It's not living that lie. It's living your life to the fullest existence that you possibly can. And so that's something I struggle with too, is going against the grain, and maybe not just going with the flow, but maybe raising up a concern or asking if this can be done in a different way. I need to be better about that within my own life. Okay. Page 212, the very next page, when he's also saying it, just kind of going along with this, if you say yes when you're supposed to say no, then all you can say is yes. And I guess it's just another point of view of this. If you go with the flow, you won't be the troublemaker. And he says that the troublemakers go first, and then it's usually the people who are kind of abstaining, who don't have any originality of thought. And that's how things change and progress. If you have this original thought and you present it, and it may not be the way that the status quo, but if it changes it for the better, then they'll want to keep you around. But if you just kind of just go with the status quo, then you'll never be discovered. But the hard and the scary part is, if you go against the status quo, or you have this original thought, or you try to say no when you should have said no, that makes you a troublemaker. And that can lead you to get fired or whatever happens in that certain situation. If you say no, then your life may become worse off. But I think if you do that, then you're not betraying yourself. And Peterson says later on in this chapter, I think I'll talk about it, but I'll just mention it now, that you may lose your status, but you won't lose your character. Your character will always stay with you. And so if you're true to yourself, I think people will understand that and respect that. And you may be gone, but I think your coworkers will at least still remember you, or whatever situation you're in, as the person who stood true to their values. And as long as it's like reasonable and not too far out there, they'll most likely respect you for it. And so it's scary, and you will be the troublemaker, and you may be the first one to go, but you're not corrupting yourself on the inside, and maybe that will get you farther in life. I think there's just different, along with the pathways things. You can make decisions in your life that will help you get ahead, whether that be through lying or that be through manipulation and deceit, and it may get you to the top. Let's just use like an actor, for example. It may get you that blockbuster role and propel your career forward, and there you are, you're at the top of your career. But on the inside, you know that you've done wrong, you know that you've deceived, and in essence, you're being an actor of yourself. You're not playing your true life out. You are playing something else so that you may get what you think you want. And then there's the other route where if you do stay true to yourself, maybe you never reach that actor, that blockbuster role, and become the famous actor that you want to be, but you aren't corrupted morally, and maybe you aren't as successful on paper, like money-wise or status-wise, but you are successful morally. And I don't know what's better. I mean, I think the answer would be not corrupting yourself morally is better. And I guess that way, once you come to the end of your life, you can be happy with how you lived, and you aren't struggling as much mentally, but you may be struggling in other ways, whether that's financially or something like that. But I guess if you have the strong character and that strong honesty with yourself and the will to keep going, just as I believe it was Nietzsche, whoever has a why can bear almost any how. If you stay true to that, then whatever hardship comes your way, you're just going to keep pressing forward. Whereas if all you've been doing is lying, and maybe you've gotten to the successful point, a hardship's going to hit you and you may just fall apart. You may just break down and not be able to keep going anymore, especially if you've been having a lie within yourself your whole life, and the perception of yourself to others, your disposition. So I guess that's a long roundabout way of saying, if you take these two different pathways in life, where you lie or where you don't lie, you may get ahead in one area, but you're falling behind in another, and that goes both ways. Whether you're ahead in your character or you're ahead in, we can use your career, for example. And at the end of the day, I think I think it's your character that probably matters more. And we're trying to better ourselves, and you're more likely, if people can rely on you and trust you, then you're probably going to do pretty darn good in life. It reminds me of Ron Swanson from Parks and Recreation. I think he's talking to Tom, who Aziz Ansari is the actor's name. But I think the character's name is Tom, played by, and then Nick Offerman is Ron Swanson. Just a little side. I was just trying to remember the actors' names. But he tells Tom that when you die, what's going to be put on your gravestone is your name. And at the end of the day, that's really what matters. What's on your gravestone is your name, and how you will be remembered, and remembered by yourself and other people. And they're going to look at that name, and they're going to either think about how successful you were, but kind of how you were kind of a jerk, or whatever you did to get ahead in life, or that you were a good person and you were loved and well respected. And I guess that's just a decision that you have to make on which pathway is best for you. And for me, I think I'm trying to get ahead in life by having the correct character and the correct makeup. And from there, with that good foundation, I believe I will get a little further in life. It'll help me along on my journey. Okay, page 214. Peterson talks about Kierkegaard and not being inauthentic and being a genuine and honest person, and almost speaking your mind sometimes. And it reminded me of a class I took where there is a majority of international students and a few Americans. And if the teacher had like assigned some sort of homework that was due in 2 days, which was kind of ridiculous at that point because we had fallen behind in lectures. So the teacher was trying to catch up, but they're just like, this is ridiculous to have 2 days to complete it, because we wouldn't even be able to go to office hours to talk to you about completing the assignment and talking with the TAs and just getting help. There just wouldn't be enough time. And myself and many of the other Americans were just like, well, I guess that's just the way it is. We just have to try to complete the assignment and turn it in. But many of the international students were like very, they knew it was not right to have it be due in 2 days. So they went and talked to the professor. They sent him emails. They were just very proactive about their rights and making sure that it was good and fair for themselves and for everyone else. And yeah, we got the assignment extended, but it was just kind of interesting to see the Americans kind of just going with the flow like I normally do, and the international students are always kind of, hardened and just doing what was needed to do in order to, better their lives, which it was kind of beautiful and really nice to see. It's something I need to take away from my own. Page 215, he mentions Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning as, he was drawing about how the concentration camps with the Nazis, you become the deceitful and inauthentic, and that's how social totalitarianism arises. But yes, that is a good book you should read. Okay. Yes, pages 218 through 221. So this I had to reread several times when he's describing totalitarianism and what it means and how it's implemented. Essentially what I got is that the totalitarian will try to force you not to question anything. When he's saying that everything is absolute, and it would be, it's rational to think in my way, like this makes sense and this is how it should be, and it's because of this and that, and that you shouldn't have to question anything else or take on anything new, because anything new is going to be incorrect and false and not good. So you need to just follow my rule. And in a way, also, if you just go along with that, like I said before, if you stay quiet, it's just as good as lying, because you're lying to yourself about what you want, what you need, and probably what's best for yourself and other people. And so if you live your life following the totalitarian, or you yourself are becoming a totalitarian, and he's mentioning like Lucifer and Satan and believing and not questioning anything else, but taking on and not taking on any new information, it will corrupt you, and you have to be open to the new information, which I think is, yes. So if we move on to page 223, when he's talking about taking on new ideas, how a little bit of you dies inside, because if you're trying to learn and understand new ideas, that's changing your perception of what you previously thought. And if you allow that to happen, that little piece of that idea, that ideology that you follow, will have to die in order to take on new ones. And that can be a very difficult task that many people don't want to do. I mean, that's why the totalitarian rises, because they don't want to believe that what they have been fighting for so long is incorrect, and they want to hold on to that. And you just have to be open to having these new conversations and experiences with other people, and you cannot just sit back and just brush everything aside. I think that is a beautiful way of saying it, that a little piece of you dies when you have to take on that new idea. And you just have to be okay with that and take it as it comes, and then you can form a new idea, and hopefully you will better yourself. Because you have to go through any type of hardship in order to better yourself. So if that means a little bit of that idea has to go away, then that little idea has to die in order to better yourselves. He says it here, like, you are also all that which you could know if you only would. You don't want to sacrifice what you could be for what you are. So if you can sacrifice right now to become something better and who you want to be in the future, then that's just something you have to do. Okay. Page 225, when he's saying it's hard, if the student takes on the engineering degree for either for their parents or the people around them, and that's pretty relatable. You do things to make yourself look intelligent or wise or funny or good looking or whatever you're doing. You're putting up a little lie within yourself to make yourself appear better in front of others. And I think we're all guilty of that. I'm guilty of that, of some of the decisions I've made in my life to make myself look better or more intelligent. And it's definitely, I'm not happy where I'm at right now. It's led me to some good opportunities, but I think, like, talking back about that actor that is now, they're famous and they're part of the blockbuster movie and it's really, really good, but they're not happy with themselves. I kind of can relate to that. I've had some very successful and good things happen in my life, but it's also because I wasn't following what I truly wanted to do in my life at that moment. And now I just wonder what could have been. But, because it's never too late to change your life. That's why we're having these discussions. That's why we're reading these books. That way we can learn to better ourselves. And we still have time in this life at any age to try to make a change. And so I guess I'll start making those changes. Page 227, when he talks about the meta goals, one of which could be like live in truth or, act diligently and with determination. And I like those goals, as you can have those in place of what your real ambitions and goals are, because I am right now sort of lost in what I want to put my drive into and my discipline and my ambitions. But I do know that I want to get somewhere at some point in my life to feel happy, and well, not happy, but to know what I did was meaningful for myself and I did it in the correct way. And in order to do that, I have to live by these meta goals. I have to tell the truth and live honestly, and to not have my children be someone I hate. And I think these meta goals will help you get to wherever these other goals that you want to get in life. If you live by these meta goals, then you'll feel that much better once you do get to the top. If you live as the genuine, honest person that you want to be, and then you become that movie star, oh goodness gracious, hey, you did it genuinely and honestly, and then you are at the top and you feel good about yourself. So that's a good way of going about. Even if you're unsure of what you want to do, you're still going to get there by living as the person that you want to be. You're still living with your character and not, you may lose that status, but you'll get that status back. And then page 229, when he's talking about all the different little lies in your life and how they can build up, and then finally you get to hell, where you want to take revenge on what's happened to you. And that, it just reminded me of the Shakespeare quote of what a tangle web we weave when we first learn to deceive. And yes, as long as you keep lying, and your little white lie may have to continue on for that person then, and then it stretches further and further throughout your whole life, and then eventually either something bad happens, or that little paper mountain that you've configured with your lies will one day come crashing down, and then you have to blame yourself, and you don't want to blame yourself, so then you got to take revenge out on something else, and whoever may have blown that paper mountain that was destined to fall down, you may want to take them out with revenge. And it just gets messy when you lie. And I've so far lately, I have tried to just do little white lies just to save face. But I think if people are being honest, if you're honest with them, they may be taken aback a bit. But I think that they reflect on it. They're at least he was honest with me, and I can count on him for that. But that was rule number 8. Rule number 9, assume that the person you are listening to might know something you don't. Until next time, don't lie. I'll see you then.